Like I always say, I want to fight the best. I ain't. I'm saying I don't try to fight these bottom tier guys. When you fight the best, you gonna be better.
So Jaron boots Ennis, beats Karen Chukhadzhian. Obviously, I hope I said that name correctly. Unanimous decision victory. And yeah, I mean, let's talk about this fight. It's a bit of a strange one because before the fight, we were hearing, obviously, Eddie Hearn has been basically calling Jaron Ennis a pound for pounder. There's been a lot of talk about the potential Terence Crawford fight. Jaron Ennis moving up in weight, 154, 160, potentially 168, and taking over these divisions. So I think if you look at that performance with all those things in mind, I wasn't impressed. I actually thought it was quite a poor performance. Chukhadzhian, I don't think he's a bad fighter, with all due respect, but he's quite basic. And I think the big alarm bells for me, especially in this fight, is you fought this guy before. You fought him for an interim belt. This is the belt that Jaron Ennis has at 147. You fought him for an interim belt. And it was really Jaron Ennis and his coach, his father, basically saying that Chukhadzhian ran the first fight and the second fight is going to be different. And really, Chukhadzhian stayed in front of him all night. He stayed in front of him all night. He was landing all night, Chukhadzhian, on Jaron Ennis. And Jaron Ennis, for me, he just gets hit way too much. I think he's easy to hit. And I think the a bigger issue is really in American boxing, ever since Floyd Mayweather retired, I think just that in American boxing in general, it's always looking for the next Floyd, the next guy to take over. It's been Shakur Stevenson, it's been Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney. And now they're saying, Jaron Ennis is the big prospect. But look, I think Jaron Ennis is a talented fighter. I think he's someone that's very technical. I think he does have power. But really, at 27 years of age and, going to be 28 soon, you really look at that resume and who's on it. Like I said, he beat Chukhadzhian for an interim belt. And let's be real, in American boxing, who is really that next guy coming up? Is it Shakur Stevenson? I'm not sure if it is. Is it Devin Haney? I don't think so. Gervonta Davis, I think he's probably the most talented American fighter. But then again, I think, obviously Gervonta Davis is 30 years of age and he's another guy. You look at that resume and it's not too great. And kind of, compare Jaron Ennis to another guy that fought on that card in Bam Rodriguez. But look at the resume. Look at the performance that Bam Rodriguez put on. No messing around with Bam Rodriguez. Fought a tough guy and knocked him out in clean fashion. A really classy performance from Bam Rodriguez. And how many world level fighters does Bam Rodriguez at the age of 24 have on his resume? Look, I think Jaron Ennis, in his defense, let's obviously talk about the good. He got a knockdown in that fight. I do see a guy that should move up in my opinion. I think when you look at a guy that's potentially weight drained, I think Jaron Ennis's legs didn't look as good as normal. I don't think he had that same snap on his punches. And those are telltale signs typically that someone should move up in weight. I also didn't think that Jaron Ennis finished the fight that strong. So look, I think Jaron Ennis may move up to 154. Obviously, everyone is entitled to a not great performance. I mean, even Floyd Mayweather, he had performances where he wasn't at his best. If you look at the first Maidana fight and then compare that to the second one. But that was my real disappointment with Jaron Ennis, is that, he fought this guy previously and there were really no adjustments in the second fight. Obviously, his father's in the corner, and really, I didn't really like the corner instructions from his father. He was just basically saying, get him out of there now. I think the corner instructions need to be more technical, more precise. What can Jaron do to avoid getting hit? What can he do to change it up? Because I think Chukhadzhian, he was standing in the pocket. He had no problem trading with Jaron Ennis. So look, I don't think this is a guy that we can write off after one performance. The decision to move up in weight probably will happen, I would assume, next. But look, I mean, that could be tricky for Jaron Ennis because there's, those guys, they're a lot bigger, they're a lot more powerful, and they will have seen that performance, and, they'll welcome that fight. I think Virgil Ortiz would take that fight. I think Madrimov is a tricky fight for Jaron Ennis. Obviously, Terence Crawford is at that weight. Did this performance tell you that Jaron Ennis can beat Terence Crawford? I'm not sure it did. This is a guy that's basically been looked at as that next American superstar. And I really didn't see it. And I'm not really seeing it with a lot of these American prospects. I think Keyshawn Davis put on a very good performance this weekend. I think he's someone that, we can look out for. But with Jaron Ennis, I mean, I'll give you an example. I mean, let's look at Frank Warren's stable with Queensberry in England. You've got Hamza Shiraz, 22 years of age, about to fight for a world title. Obviously knocked out Amma Williams, who was also on that card yesterday. Nick Ball, same age as Jaron Ennis, beat Raymond Ford in his prime. Nick Ball, he got robbed in the other world title fight that he had. Moses Atalma, 19-year-old coming up. Daniel Dubois, younger than Jaron Ennis. He's knocked out Anthony Joshua at Wembley. Good wins over Jarrell Miller. Tough fight against Usyk, where he dropped Usyk. Very good win over Filip Hrgovic. So, there are guys in and around Jaron Ennis's age that, in my opinion, I'm not seeing where the big hype is coming from. I think people have mentioned pound for pound, but does he have the resume to deserve that? Does he really have a key marquee win against someone to talk about a pound for pound list? I'm not sure. So, like I said, I think Jaron Ennis, I think he's a good fighter. I think we need to see a lot more from him in his upcoming fights. And I think we need to slow it down a little bit with him. Let's see if he moves up in weight to 154. There's some good challenges at that weight for him. Obviously, Madrimov is also with Eddie Hearn. I think they're going to look to make the Virgil Ortiz fight. I think that's a fight that De La Hoya wants. I think that fight's been talked about for a while. And that's quite a close fight. I mean, Virgil Ortiz really brings it. He's got power. And he will be looking at that fight saying to himself, this guy does get hit, so he's got a chance. So let's see what the next move is for Jaron Ennis and where he goes from there.